Imagine lying in the grass and enjoying the nice summer weather, watching the clouds go by, when all of a sudden you break out into hives. This is what people living with allergies have to go through every day on top of sneezing, watery eyes, and a stuffy nose. Children with allergies are 2 to 4 times more likely to develop other medical conditions like asthma. But if allergies are such an inconvenience to those living with them, then why do they exist? This seems to go against the popular understanding of evolution, where there is a decrease in negative traits. Have you ever noticed that the number of people with allergies is increasing every year? In fact, from 1997 to 2011, the incidence of peanut allergies in the United States has increased from 0.5 to 2%. 40 years ago, it would have been hard to find someone in your class with a food allergy. But today's schools need to restrict certain foods in the classrooms because many children are suffering from these allergies. So if they are so bad and can even kill you, why are allergies still present in the human population? In order to understand the questions being asked, we need to start at the beginning. How allergies actually work and what caused them. The cause of an allergy is always an external stimulant, which can come in many different forms. The stimulants are called allergens and could be airborne particles, as in the case with pollen allergies or allergies to animal fur. An allergen could also be ingested particles such as medicines or foods. There are 5 different types of antibodies, also known as immunoglobulins. The 5 different types are IgA, IgD, IgE, IgG, and IgM. The immunoglobulins that are implicated in allergic reactions are all IgE type. IgEs are present in everyone. However, in a properly functioning immune system, the body is able to recognize threatening versus non-threatening proteins. In people who have allergies, cells are unable to tell whether the allergen entering the body is actually harmful or not. In a person with allergies, their cells are programmed to produce large amounts of antibodies to a particular allergen, which alerts the person to that allergy. It's these molecules that cause the typical allergy symptoms that are seen, such as itching, hives, and sneezing. In some people, the reaction of the body to certain allergens can cause capillaries all over the body to dilate, leading to anaphylaxis or even death. If these allergies and antibodies are so damaging or dangerous, then it is a very important topic because they are still prevalent and constantly increasing. Scientists are struggling to understand from an evolutionary standpoint why our bodies are still producing them. The confusion is primarily because scientists view allergies as accidents. IgE antibodies were always assumed to be produced when they weren't supposed to be, due to some genetic disorder. But these antibodies can be found in our genomes. This means that there must have been a role for them in the past or in the present. The most common explanation for this is the hygiene hypothesis. This suggests that lifestyle changes have led to an increase in allergic and autoimmune diseases. Strachan first proposed this hypothesis when observing an inverse correlation between hay fever and the number of older siblings. Our bodies have an immune system designed to fight infection as well as recognize these allergens. Mark McMorris, MD, is a pediatric allergist at University of Michigan Health System, and he stated, "We've developed a cleanlier lifestyle, and our bodies no longer need to fight germs as much as they did in the past. As a result, the immune system has shifted away from fighting infection to developing more allergic tendencies." With the things that we have today, such as vaccines, smaller households, and antibacterials, it has always been viewed that this hypothesis is the reason for allergies having increased in prevalence. The major thought behind the hygiene hypothesis is that our world is too clean. We have developed and improved the way we live. This has improved our ability to fight infections as well as prevent them. If you look at developed versus developing countries, the prevalence is increasing mostly in developed countries. In less developed and rural places, a major difference is the presence of parasites and other microorganisms. Wealthy and urban locations have the money and resources to develop advanced sanitation technology to remove these parasitic elements. It has helped increase clean food sources as well as treatments for infections to reduce overall exposure to disease. These developments are useful for health reasons, but support the hygiene hypothesis of the world being too clean. But some people believe that allergies may be due to a fight against parasites, with allergies being a negative trade-off or side effect. But this raises concerns about how our defense system is designed and suggests that it could be improved. This was simply not okay with Margie Profit. Profit is an amazing evolutionary biologist with degrees in physics, math, and philosophy. She has an in-depth understanding of allergies and their evolutionary mechanisms. In 1991, she stated, "The specialized mechanisms that collectively constitute the allergic response appear to manifest adaptive design in the precision, economy, efficiency, and complexity with which they achieve the goal of producing an allergy. This statement was followed by a proposed explanation for allergies that is different from the previous thoughts. This hypothesized explanation was that these antibodies and the associated allergic reactions were meant to save people from many toxins. Many people were skeptical of this hypothesis, but Prophet was determined to prove this with 4 main arguments. The first, toxins cause damage. They cause damage, so of course our bodies would respond and defend against them. The second argument is toxins have physiological activities that are known to trigger allergic responses. The third argument is that many allergens are toxic or have proteins that bind to other toxins. The last argument, allergy symptoms can be helpful in medical cases of poisoning. The vomiting, sneezing, and coughing can expel toxins, which could reduce the speed of toxin movement throughout your body. Prophet was confident in her proposed explanation, and it even won her a MacArthur Genius Grant back in 1993. But this didn't show the world enough evidence. They wanted more. They wanted research studies, cold, hard evidence. Prophet struggled to do so and have the scientific community accept it. She needed help, and many researchers were willing, and they tried to help improve this explanation. In 2012, Paul and Janet Shellman Sherman at Cornell University were able to connect Prophet's toxin hypothesis with an observed medical phenomenon. What was observed was people who had allergies seemed to have a lower risk of certain types of cancers. This was an allergy breakthrough. The explanation they gave was that allergies, like Prophet had said, were in these cases dealing with carcinogens. Prophet had noted back in the early 90s that most cancer-causing metals were also extremely allergenic. This included arsenic, chromium, and nickel. This 2012 study suggests that if allergies serve to protect the body against these carcinogens, then people would likely produce and use them to reduce the risk of exposure to mutagenic toxins that may be causing cancer. There is even a simpler explanation. Overactive immune function of allergic individuals attack all foreign and domestic invaders, meaning it can be effective against cancers. This is all very philosophical and still has people questioning allergen hypotheses that exist. But in 2015, scientists at Stanford University School of Medicine added to Prophet's argument by showing small doses of venom and their allergic pathways protected mice against a fatal dose at a later time. Small doses were given to one treatment. The mice who were already given a small dose survived after their lethal dose, whereas the controlled mice were not so lucky. One of the head researchers from this study, Philip Starkle, said that there should be some very positive evolutionary pressure to keep these cells and these antibodies, because if they were just bad, they would have been eliminated. The researchers were able to prove this when they subjected mice to both bee stings and snake bites. So what are the evolutionary mechanisms behind keeping these allergen antibodies in our systems? It is still unclear and not agreed upon, but there is growing repertoire of new evidence being created to show that there are definitely evolutionary responses associated with these allergens. Psychologically and socially, allergies can be a source of aggravation and anxiety. The health aspects connected to having allergies, such as asthma, atopic dermatitis, and spastic colitis, can all be time-consuming and difficult to manage. Atopic dermatitis is the physical allergy reaction known as eczema. It's one of the main side effects of having allergies. The daily care needed to manage eczema can be quite time-consuming and exhausting for both parents and children, taking multiple hours throughout the day to care for the child. Avoiding allergens and irritants can be stressful, as trying to control the interactions can be quite difficult. The worst part is the scratching. It can become so severe that even pediatric psychology consults could be required. The psychosocial stress of having allergies can be tremendous to not only the person with the allergy, but the people around them. Food allergies are difficult to avoid. It seems like every place has warnings that their food could contain something dangerous to you. Take McDonald's, for example. They warn that nuts could have been present on the same counter where the burgers are made. That slight cross-contamination is what every parent, friend, and child is on high alert for every time they want to eat. Parents especially feel high amounts of anxiety with having to keep their child safe from something simple as food that they eat. With severe anaphylactic allergies, the traumatic event of having to self-inject or have someone else inject epinephrine can be quite scarring, as the panic in the situation can be overwhelming and scary. Let alone the panic or fear a parent or child might feel if they realize they are in a situation with high chances of allergens and having no EpiPen. Being on high alert and realizing the situation is out of a person's control can again be quite stressful and traumatic to children and parents. Just everyday events can be difficult for children with allergies and their parents. Things like being in a classroom, flying on an airplane, sporting events, or simply sitting at a table where nuts could have been consumed. These implications pose many questions. How can society make it easier on people with allergies? How can medicine evolve to make allergies less serious? What special accommodations for mental and physical health do we need to consider for people with allergies? If you enjoy learning about dramatic controversies, then you may have already heard about the EpiPen prices skyrocketing in 2016. EpiPens inject a dose of epinephrine into the thigh as a rapid emergency treatment for anaphylaxis. Using an EpiPen is potentially life-saving, and many parents are struggling to cope with the increasing prices of the device that may save their child's life. Since 2009, the price for a pack of 2 EpiPens has increased from $100 to $600 in 2016. The CEO of Mylan, EpiPen producer, has had to argue their case for price increases to the U.S. Congress, but in spite of several hearings, prices continue to rise. Now that we know EpiPens are less accessible in terms of an emergency treatment, let's talk about some recent developments in allergy treatments. A 2014 study of 96 children with peanut allergies gave the children gradually increasing doses of peanut products. At the end of 6 months, 80% of the children were able to eat 5 peanuts, and 2/3 of the kids were able to eat up to 10. These findings are promising and could even increase the quality of life of children with peanut allergies and reduce anxiety surrounding the "may contain peanuts" label on food. But don't get too excited. Unless a minimum amount of peanut products are consistently eaten, then the severity of the allergy can come back. This makes researchers think that although these kids may have been able to develop a tolerance to peanuts, full immunity to them may not be possible. Many people experience non-food allergies as well, and so research into grass and pollen allergies is also on the rise. A 2-year study of a new immunotherapy vaccine has been found to relieve the symptoms of grass allergies by 25%. In the first year of therapy, patients have to receive 4 injections, and then only 1 in the second year. The vaccine contains modified proteins extracted from the allergen. This prevents the proteins from bonding to human IgE antibodies and prevents an allergic reaction. The vaccine's success has led to follow-up studies scheduled to start in 2019, and general government approval is expected in 2021. The 2 treatments we just discussed involved gradually accustoming the patients to the allergen and offering them a certain degree of relief, but not necessarily a cure. But researchers in Australia claim that they have discovered the cure to all types of allergies. Through gene therapy, the researchers were able to turn off the allergy response in mice allergic to the protein in egg whites. But how did they do this? According to the research team, they inserted a new gene controlling the allergy response into blood cells and then injected the new cells into the mice. The modified cells replicated and turned off the response in the mice. The researchers hope to use a similar treatment in humans and expect human trials to begin in approximately 5 years. However, allergies differ between mice and humans, so whether or not this treatment will be successful for people is still up for debate. Hopefully you learned something from this video, but if you didn't, here are some quick points to tell your friends at the next big get-together. First, allergies suck. Second, there are multiple hypotheses related to why the incidence of allergies are increasing. And finally, our understanding of these evolutionary hypotheses has created a broad and promising field of research to find more effective treatments for allergies. Now let's go back and imagine that day at the park. Yes, it's true, the allergies are increasing, but maybe the reason behind it aren't that bad. Evolutionary-based treatments can lead to a nice walk with your dog and maybe even an ice cream cone. So maybe next time you sneeze or break out into hives, you should actually thank evolution instead of only cursing it.